One of the things I really love about the retro community is that there is a passionate group of people that continue to keep old products alive with modern enhancements. And the Amiga 1200 is no exception. Today on the channel, we are going to pimp out an Amiga 1200 motherboard, fit it with a A1200.net case, as well as an A1200.net mechanical keyboard, and pimp it out with a Terrible Fire TF1260 060 Accelerator card running compact flash. Now the keyboard is something that I've been waiting on for quite a while now. This particular mechanical keyboard is very interesting because it contains Mitsui mechanical switches with silent typing, and as you can see here, it has that authentic feel and modern build. Now we're going to put this to the test. We also have some keycaps that we're going to fit onto this mechanical keyboard, as well as a Terrible Fire accelerator card. So we're going to fit all this stuff into a modern Amiga 1200 case setup, and we're going to put it through its paces and see what it's all about. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with this replacement case. You can see that this is a A1200 replacement case only, so I'm not really sure what they've sent me here. Let's go ahead and open this up and see what we can find inside. Nice cardboard there with A1200, and it seems like there's a lot of parts here, but that is, just looking at it straight up, you can see that this is a very, very nice looking replica of an Amiga 1200 case. I will show you what the original Amiga 1200 looks like as well as a comparison, but this is a very, very nice looking case. There's probably a lot of things here that are going on that we need to look at, and I think I'm mostly interested in the expansions that we have at the back here and how they compare to the original. But this is definitely a nice case, very nice plastic feel, and this is something that obviously will not get yellowed over time. It won't require any kind of retro brighting. The other thing that I really like is that these screw holes here are very, very well maintained. They're very well designed. This won't be an issue. One of the issues you have with Amiga 1200 cases is that the screws tend to crack and split the case, and it means that the screws don't have enough give to actually keep the case held together. But there are supports here, there are reinforcements here on these screw holes, which makes it very, very easy to have a really nice fit with your Amiga 1200. We've got some badges here, we've got some other bits and bobs, but this is a very, very good case. So let's go ahead now and put the motherboard into this case and get this build started. Now, I am quite familiar with Amiga computers. I've worked on them over the years in various configurations and various formats. So fitting this A1200 motherboard into this A1200.net case was a pretty simple process. The best way to do this is just to align it up with the peripherals and the screw holes, and then you should be good to screw it down. Now, unfortunately, one of the issues I'm currently having with this particular case build is it's not really the fault of the case itself, but I'm missing the metal shielding around the Amiga 1200 motherboard, which means that this particular screw here is something that I can't just put a regular Amiga 1200 screw in there because it won't actually screw down. So what I need to do is just basically go from the underside of the board, I think screw something up and then just secure it with a nut here. So we're going to do that here so we can just keep this motherboard secure, because right now, as you can see, it's just kind of moving around, and unfortunately without that metal shielding plate that you get with an Amiga 1200 motherboard, this one doesn't have one, as mentioned, didn't come with one. So we're going to just make do and just secure this as best we can. All right, so I was able to find a screw and an appropriate washer and a nut. So I just fastened it here, and this motherboard is now not moving. Again, not ideal because we really need the shielding, but in this day and age, I'm not even sure if the shielding is even that important anymore. So this is the A1200 mechanical keyboard, and it should mount on like so, in these little slots here. And we're going to go ahead and put this all together and set it all up. I'm very, very excited. Now, one thing that we want to make sure that we install on this case is our LED indicators. Now, on an Amiga 1200 and a 600, there are 3 LED lights, one to indicate power, one to indicate floppy drive activity, and the last one to indicate hard drive activity. Now, we do have a replacement LED light here that we're going to install before we proceed with putting everything back together, because again, we want to make sure that we don't miss on anything here. I kind of want to make sure that this is a one and done type deal, but as you know, things don't always work out that way. So this is a pretty easy installation. I ended up getting this from amigastore.eu. Now, one thing I will tell you is that this white line here has already come apart. So we're going to go ahead and solder that here very, very quickly and then proceed. So the next thing that we're going to do is fit our Terrible Fire TF1260 Accelerator card in the trapdoor expansion here. I'm going to do it while the case is off because it's going to be a lot more difficult to get to it from the underside. Now, to fit in this Terrible Fire 1260 expansion, all we do is just fit it in the trapdoor slot like so. It should just snap in, and that is a very, very snug fit. I did have to loosen this screw just a little bit, so there was a little bit of give here, but you can see that this fit is extremely snug now, which is awesome. Now, some of you may notice here that there is an IDE header for a hard drive, and there's also one on the Amiga 1200 motherboard. We're going to use the IDE header on the Terrible Fire expansion. This particular A1200 motherboard is an earlier model that does not have the second mouse port, and the first revision of the A1200 had a mouse header that fits into here. Now, I do have a mouse header for this that I will fit in, but we're going to, for the moment, we're going to plug this in as is and reattach our mechanical keyboard and boot this up and just make sure that we are booting as normal before we go ahead and proceed. Okay, so one thing that I did have to do before powering this thing on was to move the IDE drive back to the motherboard, and that is because I just noticed on the top of the Terrible Fire card there is a little message that says at the time of release the IDE interface is unused. So I can only assume that it is still not working. The other thing I did was I made sure my disk drive wiring was correct. I had it round the wrong way. As mentioned, make sure that you test this stuff before you turn on the system, or you put everything back together, I should say. So let's go ahead and power this on. I have a 1 GB flash card. This is just a test right now. We're going to power the Amiga on, and fingers crossed we should boot up. And as you can see, it looks like it's working. I can hear the floppy drive running, which is a good sign, and we are in, and that looks pretty good to me. This build is ready to go, and I'm very excited. It's turned out fantastic. A1200.net has done an amazing job, not only with the case, it was very easy to work with, as well as this keyboard. This keyboard is gorgeous. I love the black on white aesthetic. This is not something you normally get on an Amiga configuration, but it looks very sleek, it looks very modern, and the best part is this keyboard sounds fantastic. Take a listen for yourself here as I punch down on these keys. Very responsive, very awesome. I'm so excited to be using this keyboard and this Amiga 1200. And just as a comparison, we're going to get my old workhorse, my original Amiga 1200, which I've had for so many years. While it doesn't sound terrible, a lot of the times the keys are very soft and they just don't respond in the way that you want them to. But we're finally at the end of this pimped out Amiga 1200 build. Now let's go ahead, plug it all in, and play some games. This Amiga 1200 060 setup is awesome. I'm so happy with it. I'm using a product known as Amiga Vision, which is a one-stop solution for all your games and demo needs. It's really awesome. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. It installs nicely on a 16 GB compact flash card. And I have my pick of not only the old classic Amiga games from the 90s, some of the very best games that you could ever play, but also the more modern games, the homebrew community, the aftermarket games that have been released for the Amiga. There's an incredible community that's making games and releasing games to this very day. Some of these I've never had a chance to play until today, and the Amiga Vision program really kind of just fills that void nicely. Now, of course, when we talk about the Amiga, there's also the incredible demo scene and getting my fix of ECS demos, but more importantly, AGA demos, and even more importantly, the fact that we have an 060 Accelerator means that I can run some 060 only enhanced demos on this Amiga 1200 setup. Now, I did mention when we were setting up the Amiga 1200 case, there was a slew of expansions at the back, and there are various options that you can decide to use if you want to continue to expand this Amiga 1200. Right now, as far as internal expansions, we haven't really got that much. We just have an Accelerator card. But the Amiga 1200 can be expanded in numerous ways with things like IDE drives via the Rapid Road, as well as the AGA Indivision Mark II, which is a scan doubler that is internal to the Amiga. Many different peripherals and many different add-ons that you can provide. But right now, I'm pretty happy keeping this as stock as possible, but hey, we may end up doing some expansions in the future, and if we do, I'll definitely document that journey along the way. But for now, I'm more than happy just to sit down, play some incredible games, watch some incredible demos, and just sit back and relax and enjoy this pimped out Amiga 1200. I think the thing I really love about having this Amiga 1200 setup is because it has an 060 processor, it does allow me to play some 060 only demos, and this is awesome. I'm really getting a lot of enjoyment and fun playing on this new Amiga 1200 build. Once again, a big thank you to a1200.net. I will leave a link to their website in the description below if you want to check them out for yourself, but for now, we are going to leave it here. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this episode, please don't forget to leave me a thumbs up, and we will catch you in the next episode. Bye for now.